everybody, this is Everything is Fun is Ruined. I'm your host as usual, Tristan, and I gotta say, this time, I don't want to be the very best, like no one ever was. I don't give a crap about that. I just want to, run a cool little hotel or a hot spring or that kind of thing, or I don't know, what if I could use Pokemon in my everyday life? Like, if I'm going to go and cook a meal, maybe I can use a Charizard to light my oven, the pilot light, or if I'm going to put something away in the fridge, maybe I can have Piplup briefly freeze it for a second or something like that, or what if I could use Diglett and I could run drugs underground?
I think that last one's a crime.
No. Explain.
Pretty sure running drugs underground is a crime.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's underground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ground.
Yeah.
Even underneath it.
Right.
Is still subject to the laws.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. Well, scratch that plan then. I'm not going to do that one.
Look, I will say, to be fair,
yeah,
the crimes you're committing are just running drugs underground.
Mm-hmm.
I think the police are barely going to care about it in that world, so...
Really? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, they got way worse things to deal with.
Like what?
People trying to capture gods so they can completely reshape the universe.
Oh. Well, honestly, at that point, I think a little recreational drug use is fine. As far as I'm concerned.
Look, Team Aqua was trying to get a Kyogre so that they could basically flood the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay,
yeah, what you're doing is nowhere near as bad as some other people.
All right, okay. So what we're gonna do is, maybe not so much underground. Well, we can still do underground because, Diglett's got to do something. He's itching to go, and I do have about 2 kilos of this Oddish that I have just lying around that people are gonna want to get their hands on. So, what?
It's just there are other Pokemon that people are far more likely to consume than Oddish. I think you're going to have a hard time selling that.
Oh, well, here's the kicker. So here's what happens. So this is the plan. We take the Digletts and we're running the Oddish underground, right?
Yep.
That's the plan. And then once we get to the destination, they then evolve into Glooms.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the thing is, nobody's going to really care if I'm running some Oddishes underground. But Gloom, though, that's psychotropic, sir.
Oh, there's a lot of psychotropic Pokemon. No, if you want to get high off a Pokemon, that's pretty easy.
Oh, okay. So is that legal?
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, let's just blow my whole thing up, man.
I said people drink a Sinistea and Poltegeist, so I assume it's legal to just...
Wait, they drink a Pokemon?
Yeah, so Sinistea is a teacup that has a ghost inside it, and Poltegeist is an actual teapot, and people will drink either of those.
On purpose?
Uh-huh.
Not like they possess them and then it's accidentally I drank this Pokemon. No,
they're drinking the Pokemon on purpose.
Is it like a Kazumazu sort of thing, or is this a
we don't think about too much, or it gets very weird.
It does, yes, because
it gets problematic.
Yeah, this does sound like a bunch of rich assholes who basically sit around a table and peel off already fertilized eggs.
You'd only be rich if you had the forget it's not form, but if you had the antique mark on your Poltegeist, then it's gonna be expensive. But otherwise, a Poltegeist is generally just a cheap knockoff, so you don't have to be rich for it.
Well, okay then. So I guess I you know what? I'm gonna go back to my original idea and run a inn where you can just hang out with Pokemon and Just get high off some gloom.
Why not?
Yeah. We're going to call it gloom with an umlaut instead of a OOM. Gloom.
Ugh.
Yeah. Gloom. Gloom. Hey, kids, want some gloom?
Do not, no.
Ah, come on. Well, I guess that's my plans for Pokemon. What are we talking about today, Hassan?
So we're here to do sort of a roundup of some recent Pokemon miniseries.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about them in the order that I find them, and it's not indicative of quality, but that I find them from sort of least to most interesting. And this is not the first time Pokemon has had a miniseries of any kind. They've been doing this for over a decade now, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
So they'll put out like shorter sort of 10-ish or less minute kind of episodes, and they've been in a variety of sort of genres and styles. Like, so the first one we're going to talk about is Paldean Winds, and that's kind of the most traditional one that they've done, which is that they are these short 10-ish minute segments they put out on YouTube that are mainly just meant to be some additional flavor for a particular region. So like last gen, they had one called Twilight Wings, where it kind of showed the story of a couple of gym leaders in the region.
Story of Twilight.
They've had other ones like I forget they had one for Pokemon Legends Arceus in the Hisui region. They've had things like Pokemon Origins and just a bunch of other ones. And so, again, not indicative of the quality, but this ends up being the least interesting of the three that we're talking about today because it's the most traditional of the three, where it is set in the just normal Pokemon world, for lack of a better way of putting it. Unlike some of the other two, where it's maybe a little more debatable.
Fair enough.
This one is a little bit different than, say, the mainline anime, where this is kind of more focused on these one-off individual personal stories. So the kind of main crux of Paldean Wind is that there are these three students, O'Hara, Aliquis, Oma, and they have basically been assigned by their teacher, not teacher, but their school director, Clavel. He wants them to make a promotional video for the school to encourage people to come and attend it.
As you do. Yep.
One of the interesting things about this is that in this case, the school is specifically Naranja Academy. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. And the reason that matters is that so this generation, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the school has a different name depending on which game you get. So in Violet, it is called Naranja. In Scarlet, let me just make sure here. Yes, in Scarlet, it is Naranja. And then in Violet, it's called Uva Academy. So it's a little bit weird that they gave it a name and didn't just go neutral. I don't know why they gave it different.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they're like identical. You have, as far as I'm aware, like all the same teachers, all the same interactions. There's no other differences between them. So it's weird that they gave the school a different name. But
okay, fair enough.
What ends up happening is that each of these students ends up going off, and they kind of have this personal moment that leads them to determining how they want to tackle this video. So the first episode follows O'Hara, who is a student primarily focused on being sort of studying music, basically. It's basically, I think it's implied or outright said, I don't remember, that her father is sort of the lead conductor for the school orchestra, but she's kind of struggling with, I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but whether or not she's sort of good enough for it, has the motivation. So she tells the other two students, like, hey, I'm going to go off for a bit and figure some stuff out. And so she goes off and is climbing up this mountain with her partner Pokemon, Fuecoco, who is now one of my favorites. He's great. He's a fantastic, perfect little guy. And while she's kind of dealing with all this, and in her confusion, she basically throws her flute away, and then she sees this other student walking by, Arvin, who is one of the key figures in the actual game, but he kind of just walks by her, and then they're up on this snowy mountain.
Yeah.
And then they get attacked by a Cetitan, which is this big, huge Pokemon, and it's this gorgeously animated sequence. That is the thing about Paldean Winds and a lot of these shorts. They're fantastically animated, and I understand why the mainline series can't be animated to the same level as this. It just
Kel bullshit. No, I'm kidding. It's fine.
It's more so just, the number of episodes they put out and how frequently they have to put them out.
Yeah,
they would, either the budget for this would make it you'd never make a profit off the show. It would be prohibitive, or it would have to be like other anime that are well produced. It's like, well, hey, we'll give you a 26 episode season every 2 years.
Yeah, and also our employees, our animators, are treated like garbage.
Yeah,
I did watch the first episode of Paldean Winds, and that it is very pretty. It is a very well animated.
When that Cetitan is chasing down Arvin, it's so good looking.
Yeah, very nice.
But like, what makes this so good too is that it's attacking them. O'Hara, she's just distraught, doesn't know what's going on, and all of a sudden you just hear this like, wee. And she turns around, and coming out of the sort of coming away from the lake where she had thrown her flute in is just her Fuecoco all dirty with her mouthpiece to her flute in his mouth, and she's coming, and she just runs, grabs the flute, she sort of does this song to calm down the Cetitan.
Okay.
And then, hugging her Fuecoco and kind of realizes like, hey, I don't have to be the best flute player. I can just be okay with, being who I am and doing what I want and just enjoying playing this music. And like all three of these have those moments. So the next one about Aliquis, so his whole thing is that he is trying to be this great Pokemon trainer. So he has Meowscarada, which is it's the the grass starter of this generation. So Fuecoco was the fire starter. Meowscarada is the fully evolved form of the leaf starter grass starter of this generation, Sprigatito. And his whole thing, he's trying to fight Nemona, who is the school's champion. Which
okay.
This game's a little bit weird. It also means she's champion rank, so she is one of the champions of the region.
Yeah.
And he just kind of ends up losing, and he basically gets told, like, well, your problem is you're using, Meowscarada, and it's just the wrong type, and maybe you should consider getting rid of it. And he ends up kind of saying similar to Meowscarada, and kind of, he immediately regrets it. He's immediately sorry, but he then still tries to go and have these fights. And, he comes to terms and realizes, like, who cares if I do well in fighting if, my buddy, my Meowscarada, isn't there with me. Like, what's the point of becoming a champion and becoming this great trainer if I'm not doing it with my partner Pokemon that I care about and that mean these things to me? And then the third episode, this one is about Homa. So he's very focused on sort of studying and learning about Pokemon, facts about them. He's hyper interested in. And his whole thing is kind of just that he's also in charge of like the shooting of the video and recording things and writing things for the school, but he's just not sure if he's good enough, blah blah blah. And so he sets off and he ends up running into Team Star, who they were sort of the bad guys in this game. They're mostly just a bunch of school kids who got bullied and set up their own league, but then they kind of became the bullies. That's kind of their story. But
twist, huh?
He ends up
classic.
His whole thing is sort of that he learns to relax. So he had Quaxley, which was the water starter for this generation.
Wait, that's the Donald Trump looking guy?
What's that? Kind of, yeah. It ends up evolving into a Quaxwell, and it kind of just teaches him to like dance and have fun and relax. That's kind of the story of all three of these. Is it's sort of about like self-doubt and do I enjoy these things, and kind of coming just to terms with no, it's okay to not be the best and just relax and be calm about things. And so the fourth episode is then about them. They've made this video and kind of showing it off and showing the school. It's really mostly a montage sequence. Probably the only really interesting part about it is it's hosted by Iono, or Io, as in I don't know, who's the electric type gym leader of this generation, and she kind of goes through it and just rattles off these facts about the gym leaders, and none of them are like, oh my god, this is this crazy revelation, but some of them are fun. Like one of the fan favorites of this generation or these games, Larry, who he is just this like businessman. Like he literally treats being a gym leader as like, oh yeah, Poke League is just my day job, and like I just gotta punch in and punch out every day. But she mentions like he's been doing this for 25 years, and it was like, oh man, no wonder Larry's like this. 25 years of having to do this job. Yeah, of course he's just like, all right, yeah, no, I won't do overtime, man. My shift's over. I'm going home. So it's just a fun episode, and Paladin Wins is mostly that. It's just fun. It's not, mandatory viewing to understand what's going on. It doesn't tie in to the mainline anime or kind of anything else that is happening in this generation, games, etc.
Okay.
But I like these. They are good supplemental shorts, mini-series to the main series. They again, gorgeously animated, great voice acting. I really like when Pokemon does these things. I don't have too much else to say, other than, hey, everyone should go watch that.
Yeah, it's really well animated. I can attest for that. So yeah.
That then brings us on to our second series, which might surprise some people. I have the second, but Pokemon Concierge, which is the Netflix stop motion series. I was about to say animated stop motion series. It's only, again, criminal that there are only 4 episodes of this. God damn it. Give me 100.
Really? There's only 4? Wow.
There's only 4. Yes. And they are a bit on the shorter side. So they're around sort of 16 minutes, I would say, of actual kind of like content. I think they are like listed as 22 minutes or so, but they have like 5 to 6 minutes of credits for each episode, so they're really only around kind of like 16 minutes.
What?
Um,
That's too many. All right, fair enough.
yeah, I don't know why they're so long, but like whatever, it doesn't matter. But this series is fantastic. So the main concept of it is that it is about a Pokemon resort where people just come and relax with their Pokemon, and that this the main character Haru quit her, and it's unclear what it was, but like it's implied to be kind of just an officey paperwork job, and that she's quit that to come work at this Pokemon resort. And a lot of it is just about her kind of learning to enjoy life and her time with these Pokemon and just how to care for others, kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It is charming. It is gorgeous to look at. I think when it comes to stop motion, something that it feels like people get not caught up in, but underappreciate, I guess is how I would say it, is it's Studio Leica is the one that did like Kubo and the Two Strings and a couple other ones. And people always say like, oh, they do the best stop motion ever. They're
really good.
No one else does anything like that. And they are really good. But I think something that people underappreciate with sort of things that don't look as dynamic, I guess I would describe it as theirs, is that there's kind of a beauty to stop motion of having a little bit more of rough edges, not necessarily being like as detailed or having, just looking like the thing that it is, which is, just actual figurines
or whatever
and
it is,
clay and felt and all that stuff. And that's what this does. And I really like that about that it's not, and it does look good. Don't get me wrong. There are moments where like, character kind of just did this with their arm. It's like, wow, that's so fluidly done. And I can't imagine how long it took to do that.
Okay,
and
cool.
Like the character faces, and they aren't bad by any means. I'm not trying to say like, oh, this looks cheap. It absolutely does not. But I think people like underappreciate if you put this up against something from Studio Leica, people are like, well, this is nowhere near as good as what their stuff looks like, and I would argue it does. It's like they're both stop motion, but they are complete. Well, I think it's more they're just different styles within that medium, right? It's it's like sitting here and saying that oh, Looney Tunes looks like trash compared to try to think of a big budget and like oh, it looks like trash compared to Batman the Animated Series. And it's like, well, no, they're going for very different things. And if you had this hyper detailed and noir element to Looney Tunes, like that wouldn't work. It would look bad. And I think the same is true here. If they went for oh, we want every Pokemon to be hyper textured, it would feel weird and wrong. It would lose out on the sort of just real relaxed, beach vibes that this is going for. The calmness, the simplicity enhances it.
So it's basically the if Pokemon was Jimmy Buffett.
Absolutely not. How dare you say that?
I dare with your face.
This has good music.
Hey. So Cheeseburger in Paradise.
Cheeseburger in Paradise has nothing on Maria Takeuchi, so she is...
I bet Maria Takeuchi was actually influenced by Jimmy Buffett. Come on, we all know.
I very much doubt that. She's... I'm gonna guess probably didn't hear a whole lot of Jimmy Buffett, given that, she kind of rose to prominence in the 70s.
I mean, fair enough.
No, she's done a bunch of like big name stuff, but she does like the theme for this, which is kind of crazy. But
that's cool.
Basically, the main plot of this is Haru gets to the resort, and the let me see if I can find what her title is here.
Beach Wizard.
No, I'm trying to find her
Sandsmith
title. If this website will want to load for me,
Surfing Bird.
It's Miss Watanabe. It doesn't say. She's just in charge of the resort.
Boss.
So, I don't know what her title is. But when Haru comes, she's basically like, yeah, so your first day is just go relax. And Haru's be like, oh, I know what this is a test. I need to like study and observe everything. And so she goes like crazy. And she does this PowerPoint presentation, and then Miss Watanabe's like, stop. No. Just relax. Just understand the resort and what the Pokemon want and what you're doing here. And she's like, okay, your goal, go find a partner Pokemon. And Haru's going around the resort, and so she talks to we only see two other employees, Alyssa and Tyler, and Tyler's a real beach bro, brah.
Oh, he loves Jimmy Buffett.
He's got his pooks. Oh, he would love.
He's got his pooks?
Yeah. Oh, he's got his
hell
pooks.
Yeah.
And she's going around, and she realizes like, hey, some Pokemon seems to be like following me for some reason, and eventually it finds out like, hey, it's the Psyduck that's been following her around.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay, what's up with the Psyduck? And then
he's always got a headache. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, well, so it's a whole thing, but also she sort of it's Psyduck wants to be helpful, but because of its headache, it has these problems, and eventually she comes to like these terms of like, oh no, I know how to help Psyduck. You're not useless, Psyduck, like me, because her other thing is she's sort of like, I don't have a skill. Like, Tyler's really good at cooking, and Alyssa can do this rock climbing, and she knows all these things. Yeah, and Tyler's super useful, and she's like, I don't know what my skill is. But then Psyduck just, he does a couple of things. He just uses his powers to, stop these fruits that they were carrying from like falling to the ground. And she realizes like, hey, I'm the same. I don't need to have, the greatest powers ever. I don't need to be perfect at anything. It's okay if I'm still just figuring my stuff out, or if I'm just helping out where I can. That's fine.
Hey, girl.
Like,
it's true. That said, nobody's as good as Tyler at the bongos, so
Oh God, I mean, look, I would hate Tyler in real life. I'm not gonna lie. He's good in the show, but me and him don't think we would be friends. Don't think we would, as he would probably say. I don't think we'd be broskies.
His three greatest influences are Jimmy Buffett, John Mayer, and getting laid. Yeah. Also Limp Bizkit. See,
worst.
Yeah.
But some some moments in the show though that are really good are just real incidental moments. Like one of them is when Haru ends up going back to Miss Watanabe, and she's like, for the second time, and basically trying to talk to her about what she's actually learned. She's still, even though she's kind of figured things out and she's got it right, she is still a little bit nervous, still explaining herself kind of in the wrong way. But behind Miss Watanabe, these three monkey Pokemon, so Pansear, Pansage,
Panera Bread,
Pampor.
Okay.
So they're these three monkeys that they're each a different like elemental type, but they're kind of hanging upside down and goofing around, and then Haru just kind of starts to laugh, and she's explaining like, no, here's life, and Miss Montague is like, yeah, congrats. But it's just this fun moment of like, no, here's just these Pokemon goofing around. Or we get these other moments
cool.
like there's one where she is on a scooter and she has like Psyduck in front of her.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a bumpy-ish road. Not that bumpy, but Psyduck's head is just kind of bounced like this. It's just like with this round little chunky body.
Like
this is so good.
Yeah.
Another one where, she wakes up early one morning and, she just kind of wakes up Psyduck, and it's just this sleepy Psyduck as it just gets up and it turns around and gets down off the couch. Like, oh, these little moments of just seeing these Pokemon are so good. And different Pokemon are also
cool.
Different materials. So some of them are felt, some of them seem to be more sort of like clay plasticine.
Yeah.
There's one Pokemon, I forget if it's a full-on Metagross, but it's this metal Pokemon, and it is more made out of this kind of metallic, shiny material.
Nice.
It's just, this series is so just,
it's got vibes, man.
Yeah, I don't even want to say fun. It's just charming is the right way to put it. It just oozes this sort of tweeness that I hate that it's only 4 episodes. I'm not kidding when I say I would gladly watch 100 episodes of this thing where, hey, it's just, here's these Pokemon that are visiting this week. Because they get different Pokemon that, because it's a resort, like Pokemon come and go. So the final episode is all about these Pikachu that come, and like Pikachu was or is Haru's favorite Pokemon. It seems like Psyduck has maybe taken over now.
Chump.
But this one Pikachu that it's just sort of, shy is kind of how I would put it. So it doesn't.
Pikachu.
Yeah, so it doesn't want to play with the other Pikachu. It's very quiet. They're like, hey, let's go on one of those like zip lines, but the Pikachu gets scared. It doesn't like heights, and eventually they just have fun. They're like, and the trainer, he's like a kid. He's like, no, I came here because I think it'll help my Pikachu get to be, like a normal Pikachu.
Yeah.
It'll overcome all this stuff. Yeah, but like eventually they kind of just, end of the day, just, hey, they found a bunch of like floaty rings, and they're just going to slide down this hill on them and have fun, and that's it.
Hell yeah.
And the trainer's like, yeah, Pikachu, let's just do this. Forget about all that stuff. You know, I love you no matter what. And, it then just ends as the Pikachu is leaving on the cruise ship, looks towards Haru and Psyduck on the pier and, shouts out, Pika! Like, oh, Pikachu, you overcame it,
So it sounds
stuff like that where,
cool.
Hey, just give me more episodes like this. I don't care. I don't need huge character development moments or deep story and lore.
No.
That's not what this thing is. Just give me more of this. I would gladly take 100 episodes.
Sounds like a show. Okay, I think it sounds like as if the show was like, hey, what if the Beach Boys were cottagecore?
I mean, sure. Honestly, a
it.
show that genuinely I think you could put it along in the same lines is the Shaun the Sheep stuff, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
that's the vibe I'm getting from even just looking at
these.
Yeah, even just looking at the screenshots of the show, it's very Shaun the Sheep. Like, not a lot of talking, not a lot of like incredible plot or anything. Just chilling out, maybe a little adventure here or there.
Yeah, that's totally what they could do with this. Now they basically said, nope, what you got is what you get. That's it. That's just how this is going to end. These 4 episodes. I'm not 100% certain I believe that. Part of me thinks they just said that because they weren't sure how this would do and they didn't necessarily want to overpromise. I would not be shocked if they did more of this, though.
I mean, it takes a lot to do claymation and stop motion, so even just from doing like little stop motion projects back when I was in animation school. It takes a long time, like a long time of like setting up and like making sure things move at the right rate and all that stuff. You gotta omit frames, and it gets to be a lot of a hassle. But the people who love it are really good at it. So it sounds like this kind of like hits those strides.
Oh yeah, no. This is, and this was, God, who made it again? It is Dwarf Studios.
I've heard of
them. So they've done other stop motion stuff. For some reason, my internet wants to just suck right now.
Yeah, you're dropping frames. Like speaking of frame rate problems, it's fine.
But they've done other shows and series like the Rilakkuma. That's what it's called.
Yeah, that's the what's it called? Daruma? Not Daruma.
I was about to say Doraemon, but that is
not Doraemon.
Right? Domon. Domon, right?
I think it's Domon, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically the big brown guy with the big wide mouth. Yeah. I've seen their work before. Yeah, they're really good at what they do.
Yeah. They definitely deserve props for what they've done. And like, it's not just the Pokemon that are good. The humans are very expressive. Again, it's like the face, the motion, all of it, super well done. You know, it's not high action, but there were just moments where, you know, seeing the characters move, and it's like, man, that just looks so smooth and fluid, and I cannot imagine how difficult that was to do.
They did Rilakkuma and Kaoru.
Yep,
that's a cute little show.
I liked that.
Yeah,
I actually think like it's a little bit hard, you know, taking out my love of Pokemon, but I think that Pokemon Concierge is way better than Rilakkuma and Kaoru. I think
sure.
Even if somebody had no appreciation for Pokemon, they would rank this higher. That this just does, they knock it out of the park with the vibes of it, if we want to say it that way.
I do.
Or however Jimmy Buffett, I assume Jimmy Buffett would describe it as vibes.
He would say vibes. Yeah, he got a little more like with the times in his lingo before he passed away. So yeah, he was on a few episodes of My Brother and Me, or at least one, I think. Anyway.
All right. That's...
Yeah, Justin Becker was a big Buffett head, big parrot head, I should say.
We're not going to a Jimmy Buffett resort, by the way. I'm not taking you to one of those.
You don't have to, Hassan. I got us tickets.
Oh, God damn it.
Cheeseburger in paradise.
That's all I have to say about Pokemon Concierge.
Yeah, sure.
Then I recommend it to everybody. It's fantastic. And
it's cool.
It's maybe an hour of your time to watch all 4 episodes. But that then brings us to our third series, and the one that I consider the most interesting, which is Path to the Peak. And the reason that I consider Path to the Peak the most interesting of the 3 is that this is a series about Pokemon, but that does not take place in the world of Pokemon.
It's about the card game.
Yes.
I saw a bit of the first episode. And like, what the hell is happening?
I don't know if this is like the first Pokemon property that they have made that is not set in the world of Pokemon. They've probably done it before, but it's definitely one of the few. And so it's like you said, it's about the card game, which they've basically not made anything about that.
No, not at all.
And so I was like, oh, this is weird. And I will say, so didn't mention this. So Paldean Winds, that started, I believe, in end of October, November 2023.
Sure.
Pokemon Concierge came out the very end of 2023.
Yeah, it was just like
like literally something like December 28th, I think.
that sounds right, yeah.
And then Path to the Peak came out in August of 2023. And basically at the same time, they also put the Game Boy Pokemon trading card game out on the Switch online service.
Right.
So just weaponizing nostalgia and Pokemon interest in me to have me going like, do I get into Pokemon TCG? Is this what I'm going to do? Do I get into that?
I will point out there are plenty of places to play that game in Halifax, where we are based. You could. I will say it is probably the fourth best-selling TCG. So it's not like you can't find players.
Hang on, what are 2 and 3?
What's it called? The new Disney one, Luminara, I think it's called, is like number 2.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that thing does stupidly well.
And number 3 is Duel Monsters. Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah.
I forgot people still like Yu-Gi-Oh.
The game kicks ass. So yeah, you don't see Pokemon cards sold a lot in the places where I frequent.
No, I think that's because it's still like more popular for people to pick it up in spots like a Walmart.
Yeah,
that's
Walmart,
my understanding.
Target, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Target
especially. I think they have like kind of a weird monopoly on it. So
could be. We don't have those in Canada, right? So I don't know.
We used to.
Yeah, well, they screwed it up here. That's their fault.
They screwed it real bad.
I mean, also, who cares? Whatever. It's a big box store. I don't have any feelings on it other than they all suck and are terrible corporations.
My only feelings I have on Target is that they killed all the Zellers to get rid of to make room for Targets, and that sucks. Sure. Zellers also sucked, but at least it was ours.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah, but Path to the Peak, it's the one that I think I thought about the most after it, and just
it's interesting.
Could not stop thinking about like it's just so interesting to have this thing about Pokemon, but not set in the world of Pokemon. And again, part of that too is I wasn't going to play the Game Boy TCG game because it's not that it's a bad representation or version of the Pokemon TCG.
No, of course not.
It is very out of date, I will say that. Like, playing that and then looking at where the card game is at, there's definitely been some power creep in the card game. But the Game Boy game, I never had it as a kid. I remember playing a friend, I think, lent it to me, or I maybe just played on theirs, and I never really got into it, mostly because like in real life, you need to do quite a bit of collecting of cards to make your deck so that it's going to be appropriate. Well, in this case, it's a video game, so there's no additional money, but
time sink then.
Path to the Peak made me go back and play that, and then playing that and watching this made me go, the Pokemon Company needs to put out a new, I won't say single player, but a story-focused Pokemon TCG video game. Because there is a online TCG version, like a Magic the Gathering online.
Okay, I was going to say, if they have not done that just yet, they've shot
so they've had that, I don't know
Magic
how long.
Magic Online sells better than the actual physical game, so...
I mean, that makes sense, right? Yeah. No, they've had that for a long time. I forget what it's called now, because it used to be called one thing, and then they changed it a couple of years back. But I want more of a story-focused one, the kind of thing that you saw...
Okay, I see what you mean.
I'd say basically until kind of mid-life of like the 360 PS3. I feel like around then is when you stopped seeing story focused or like single player focused card games. I don't necessarily think it has to be single player. I think they could have some online multiplayer element to it, but I mostly want a kind of more story single player.
I get you.
But
yeah.
So Path to the Peak is about Ava, this I don't know how old she's supposed to be.
She seems like 10, 12, yeah.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Yeah, like definitely tween, I think.
Yeah. She moved to a new school. She is having trouble fitting in, and then she goes to her locker one day, and there's this note, and I forget what, it's like TM13 or something. She's like, TM13, and goes to this room, and the room has TM13 on it. I forget what. I could be wrong. So TM is technical move in Pokemon. It's how you teach your Pokemon stuff.
Isn't that cut?
But no, cut would be in. It's a TM now. It would have been an HM.
Okay,
I believe it was HM01. I forget the HMs. They changed throughout the years, so don't quote me on that. But she opens it, and there's this kid, Joshua, and he's like, welcome! Oh, it's, the Pokemon. We play the Pokemon card game. And he was just like...
So he locker-bullied her into joining the fucking Pokemon Club. We got you.
Yeah. No. She's like, wait, I know. And she just runs home, gets this deck of cards, plays the game.
Yeah.
Gets smoked.
Yes,
just Joshua.
As you do.
Wrecks her.
Yes.
And so then she goes home. She's in a mood. She's like, screw this. I don't want to play anymore. And her dad basically peps her over. He's like, look, you know what I did when I was your age and I played this game? I pictured the Pokemons in my mind. I would see them. And she basically does that. And she sees this oddish, just kind of moving around her when she's playing the game.
Yeah.
Very reminiscent of Yu-Gi-Oh! And his Kuriboh.
Yeah.
Definitely some inspiration in this taken from early Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
But she plays Joshua again, and this time she wins.
Yeah.
And then not only does she win against him, but she beats everybody in the club room. And then that sets it up that she then has to face off against Celestine, who is the school and the region's best player. And she's sort of this aggressive, cockyish, like, ooh, you think you're going to beat me, kid? Not a chance. They go to championships. Celestine's all cocky, but Ava wins again, thanks to her and her oddish. And then Ava's like, you know what?
Celestine's a cool girl.
That was a good game. That was awesome. And then her, Joshua, Celestine, they all become these friends.
Yeah.
Haven't mentioned it. I really like the look of this.
It's got... I didn't think I would like the look of this at all, but when I watched the first
episode... I don't
episode,
know what you would call the art style.
It's very reminiscent of, like, current age, like, very young kid animation style.
It's weird. It's like...
It's lineless.
It wants you to know it is computer made, that it is, It's so hard to describe for me. It's this halfway between it does want to look not necessarily like traditionally animated, but actual like pencil and paper style of animation, while also looking kind of 3D CG in a way. And it's a really good style. I really like it. And it fits. The characters are a little bit cartoonier, rounded noses.
Yep.
It's not, anime like sharp chins or anything like that. So I really like it for having its own style.
It's
I think
cool with that. I agree.
Particularly works for something that is so different and unique to like any other Pokemon animated stuff where it's focused on the card game. Well, let's give it its own unique kind of look for that rather than trying to make it look like all sort of the other stuff that is set in the world of Pokemon that is a little more anime in its design and look. I think it helps it to feel its own thing,
It stands
separate
out,
from the
yeah.
rest of it. It's not just that it stands out, but it's that, the TCG is its own thing, separate from Pokemon. And it's not to say
true,
that there
yeah.
aren't people who are super into both, but there are definitely, people who are way more into the card game than they are the video game, right? They'll
Yep.
play the video game, power through the story, and then never touch it, but spend hundreds of hours on the card game.
Yes.
And so I appreciate that it kind of feels like they were aware of this and wanting to make it feel
Yeah.
its own stream separate from everything else.
Yeah. There's a something to be said about the nature of a TCG and how it draws people in, because like Pokemon as a video game is all fine and good, but the thing I always kind of struggle with Pokemon is that there's not a lot of synergy between things you do in Pokemon. It's sort of one note, whereas in a TCG, your main objective when you build a deck is to find your synergies between this thing, and this thing, and then how you can get this stuff to pop off. And it's like, I love that.
Then Tristan, I got some good news for you. So
What is it?
Ava wins regionals.
Yeah.
So her dad's like, all right, you, Joshua, Celestine, we're going to the championships, baby.
Whoa.
We're going to internationals. And so they set off. Ava gets there, and that's when they see Team Phalanx.
Oh, no.
Who they're led by Edgar Troy, who he's, I believe, the champion. Yes, he is the world champion of the TCG, and he's forget his line, but it's something like, "Oh, I don't learn the meta; I set the meta."
Ooh, is he the Malfoy
yeah.
looking guy?
The what?
The Malfoy looking guy?
Yes. Yeah,
Alright, cool.
That would be him.
All right.
He's not like evil. He's just very smug.
Sure.
But Ava gets there. She finds out like, oh, she has these fans. This little girl, runs up to her. Are all adoring her, and then Ava is she's nervous going into the match, and so there's this moment where her friends are like, no, follow us. They go up to the roof. She puts down her box of Pokemon cards, and oh no, this breeze like blows all her Pokemon cards away. So there's this whole thing down in the lobby where her friends are literally trading away all their Pokemon cards, and they need one more card to rebuild her deck, but they've run out of cards to trade. But the little girl is like, no, take my card, it's fine. And then Ava goes and she loses to Troy. Just gets smoked by him again.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you just encounter people who just know how to do this stuff. They eat, sleep, and breathe it. And yeah, there's really no winning sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
then we cut to a couple weeks later. Ava's at home. She basically doesn't want to talk to her friends. She wants to give up playing the card game.
Sure.
And so her mother kind of like sits her down. She's just like, Ava, something I need to tell you. Ava's all like, I want to hear it, Mom. She's like, no, you don't understand.
That little girl died 40 years ago.
I too used to play the Pokemon TCG when I was younger, and I
My
got
mom's
too
a
obsessed
nerd.
and into it. And Ava's just like, yeah, Mom, I know that. Why else did you have all these ancient Pokemon cards? And I was like, that is a fucking fantastic, perfect line of, yeah, a 12-year-old would call these cards ancient and be like, yeah, Mom, I know. These cards from, 10, 12 years ago, obviously you were into them. Where else would these cards from, forever ago come from?
Didn't her dad give her the deck or something like that?
It's implied
that,
like, it was from her mom. Like, her dad obviously played it,
but
it's implied that, like, oh, there's something going on with her mom, and it's kind of obvious of, like, yeah, her mom was also into it and gave it up, but basically gives her this talk about, like, hey, just have fun. Like, who cares if you lost? Don't get too into it. Ava basically, makes up with her friends, goes back. She's facing Troy again. This time she wins. Everyone's all happy, fun times. Like, even Troy learns to because he was all super serious, smug. I only played the meta in the right way, but even by the end of it, he's having fun. Her imaginary oddish is, jumping around, having good times. And I really like this. I think, though, this is the one where I don't need more of this specific story.
Yeah, that's fair.
This particular, the characters in it and their arc is done. I don't need more of Ava. That doesn't do anything. There's nothing to expand on with her and her story.
Yeah, I mean, so the three of them, of course, are all walking advertising for Pokemon, sure. But this one, Path to the Peak, especially, is an advertisement for the TCG. So, once it's done,
I would say I would not mind, a Path to the Peak 2, but I would want completely new characters for it. And I don't... It's also the one where, you could take Paldean Winds, and you could spin that out into an entire season. There is a way to make that work.
Yeah.
You could definitely take Pokemon Concierge and make multiple seasons of that. With the way that Path to the Peak is, I don't think you could do an entire season of that. Otherwise, you kind of just get into kind of a Yu-Gi-Oh! And I don't need that out of Pokemon. Characters making these big, stupid, dramatic moments as they're playing cards. I was like, oh, no.
He played that
his
card?
card.
What? He had, that was his
Exodia,
first card.
the forbidden one.
No, come on.
In Pokemon?
What if Pokemon had Exodia in it?
Exodia would lose against several Pokemon.
Really?
They are god Pokemon that it's literally
I guess they did create the world, yeah.
Yeah. Created or have mastery over time, or hey,
Exodia
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Had that
has
as well. There's something with Exodia that's the lore behind it's also weird. I don't know.
It's just kind of the destroyer. You can just destroy things, but
it's pretty good.
Yeah, there's definitely Pokemon that are more powerful.
In theory. It is a card, though, so yeah, fair enough. I don't know. I don't know the lore behind Yu-Gi-Oh!
You don't.
Maybe we should do a deep dive into the lore of Yu-Gi-Oh! Hassan, get on it. It's your job.
Tristan, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, there's one guy that has these weird three... I don't even know how to describe them other than they're what if Pikmin got run over by a truck and made bad jokes?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And there's just a character in GX that he's the only one who can see and talk to these aliens.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's a good show.
No, GX is terrible. It's awful.
You just described a great show to me. I don't know.
Yep. But Path to the Peak, I really like it. I would not mind more of it, but...
Yeah, sure.
To me, this thing is... You're right. This one is the one, it's the most advertisement, and it did kind of get me into the TCG, and I can't stop thinking about it. I just want... I want a sort of more story-ish, single-player-ish focused TCG game. That... I think if Pokemon did put that out, it probably would get me into the actual TCG.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't think I would be able to resist it, honestly.
Yeah, I can understand that. Maybe look into the multitude of deck building roguelikes out there. Let me just say, those get a lot of the same feel as a TCG, so...
Yeah.
Or just start playing Magic. Or actually, just start playing the Pokemon TCG. I'm sure that you can find a group somewhere.
Oh, yeah. No doubt I could.
I'm sure you can.
That's kind of all I have to say. Just to quickly wrap up, the one thing that I'll end on is when it comes to these three, the one I would absolutely recommend is Concierge. That is the one, regardless of how you feel about Pokemon, I think a person can enjoy this, right? I think it's the one that transcends Pokemon and becomes enjoyable. All ages, all people, anyone can like it.
Yeah, it's the kind of show where you can just sit there and waste away in Margaritaville.
Just tell people where to find us.
I don't want any more. You should go to our Twitter page, which is at EIFNIR. Go there and give us your best Jimmy Buffett and Pokemon comparisons.
Oh, no.
Yeah, please.
No.
Please do.
Don't do this to me.
I beg you. I beg you to do this. You can also, you can find our show on Spotify as well, and iTunes and the places you can get your podcatchers to catch podcasts. See, podcasts are kind of like Pokemon in a sense, but they're audio only. But if you're watching this on YouTube, which I'm sure you are, you do the things, click buttons. There's a bunch of shit in there. Just click them. I don't know what they do anymore. Some, I bet.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But you can also just share our show with your friends. If there's anything that these three these short series have shown me, is that sharing is caring and sharing is great. And that you should share your things that you like with people you enjoy things with. And therefore, yeah.
It's a Jimmy Buffett thing. I honestly don't know Jimmy Buffett well enough.
No, he wouldn't. Well, I don't think Jimmy Buffett. I don't think he hates sharing. Sharing's chill, Whatever. Sharing is kind of a chill thing. Anyway, he's also good at our friends, which is DJDane.com. That's the guy who does our music. DJDane.com. Go there and listen to his great tunes, and try and catch him in just like a little ball, like this big. Say.
Look, in this economy, that's still probably, better than other places that he would have to rent.
What? And this one's this one's only $1,000 a month.
That's a steal.
That's a steal in this, yeah. Anyway, that's it for our show. I am going to butcher this. Tune in next time for the FAS episode of These Fucking Ruined. See ya.
Yeah.